Hey everybody, I'm Katie McDoyle and this is and welcome to episode 16 of the Detecting History podcast. How have you been? I've had a lovely week. I was a little bit poorly in the middle of the week, but got over it. I got out digging this morning for a couple of hours, found 3 lovely buttons, and that was it. But you know what? They were wonderful and I loved it. Blue sky, that gorgeous orangey tone to the late autumnal sun, crisp cool air in my lungs. It was superb. What have you all been up to? Thank you for all of your lovely messages and kind reviews for the podcast. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate all of you. I've chatted to so many new lovely people, made lovely friends, and long may it continue. That's what I've got to say. Speaking of which, if you'd like to buy me a coffee in real life, if you met me, or beer, as I am partial to the odd beer, then please consider doing so virtually. Someone recommended I set up a link in which you can buy me a coffee. You'll see it in the episode notes and on the podcast notes. There's a link. You can buy me a coffee, and that's just a one-off donation to help us with the pesky hosting fees. We've all got so many subscriptions and bits and bobs, so the Patreon might be just a bit too much for some people. But if you want to keep the podcast going, I need your help. If you could buy me a coffee, I'd be really grateful. So you go to buymeacoffee.com/Detecting History Podcast, or as I say, all the links are on the show notes and in the show descriptions, and I'll put the link up on Instagram as well. Thanks, everyone. Shout out. So thank you for getting in contact. This week we had a shout out from Future Bleeps, who shared with me an event. So this is East of England Rallies. Go to eastofenglandrallies.co.uk for more info. So there is the Merton March Weekender. So this is over the 2nd and 3rd of March 2024 in Norfolk. It's £70 a ticket over the 2 days, and it's nearly sold out. In fact, it might very soon be sold out. So go and have a look. See if you can get a ticket. Maybe more will come out in future. Don't know. But go and have a look at that. I'd not heard of that one before. And East of England in Norfolk. Wow. I can imagine that they find some great things there. So go and check that out. And thank you, Future Bleeps, for that recommendation. Joseph Hoyle has been in touch to tell me about a new book, also available as an audiobook, called The Accidental Detectorist by Nigel Richardson. So Joseph says it's a really good read or listen from someone who is just starting out in the hobby, and it made him laugh a lot. And also Digger Dawn makes an appearance. I'm there, Joseph. I'm on it. I'm going to download it and listen to it very soon, and thank you for the recommendation. If anyone out there has any other news, recommendations, or wants to give a shout out, please let me know and I'll feature it in the next possible episode. Finally, some exciting news. I'm launching a competition with the help from my friend and friend of the show, Darren Booth, History Unearthed, for Christmas. So to enter the competition, please share with me a picture of your best find of 2023. So you can tag the podcast account on Instagram, or DM me the details, or do the same on Facebook, or even send me an email at detectinghistorypodcast@gmail.com. In December, there will be a daily post from the podcast Instagram account. And if your picture is behind a window on the Detecting History Podcast Advent calendar, then you're a winner. So I'll get your details and send you one of our lovely podcast stickers. The final door will be number 24 on our Advent calendar. And if your find is pictured behind this door, then you will be the winner of the Detecting History Podcast Find of the Year, Find of 2023, and will get all sorts of goodies, including a lovely little trophy. No expense spared. So don't delay. Send in your entries by midnight on Sunday the 26th of November. So you only have 2 weeks. I'll also be going through all of the followers' profiles on Instagram and Facebook to seek out that Find of the Year. So just in case you don't get round to sending it in, or have a look on your profiles, and if you shared it there and I love it, I will be considering putting it on the Advent calendar. And I'm not just talking silver, gold, but you know I love my artifacts and weird things. So yeah, anything you found really, it might get considered and might end up on the Advent calendar. Let's get to this week's episode. So this week we had the wonderful Ellie Miss Detectorist on Instagram. She's a force to be reckoned with. She's not been on Instagram for long, but already she's amassed a large following. She's so interesting to talk to, so many great ideas. She's had some wonderful finds. She's very knowledgeable on history. And I just really enjoyed her company, and we had a fantastic chat. I really hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome, everybody, to the Detecting History podcast. And this week I'm joined by the wonderful Ellie. You'll know Ellie as Miss Detectorist on Instagram and YouTube. Ellie, how are you doing today?
Hello, Katie. It's lovely to finally meet you.
Yes. We were just saying, actually, off camera, it's always nice to meet people in person, even if virtually, to see the person behind all the epic content that we've been seeing off of you and others recently. So, yeah, it's lovely to meet you too.
Lovely to put a face to a name.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to meeting some of these personalities I'm starting to get to know through Instagram and YouTube. Actually, someone suggested last night, why don't we do a YouTube live and we can all chat? And I was like, yes, let's do it. So I might set that up.
Yeah, do it. You've got to do it, especially when it comes into the winter months as well, and it gets a bit difficult, less light and all the rest of it. We're all sort of fumbling around trying to find new things to do in our hobby. So I think that will go down really well.
Absolutely. I think we could kind of have like a virtual detecting club. So we could kind of almost get, bring your own drink,
yes,
and show some of your finds.
Yes. And, okay, well,
really...
I think you need to trademark that right now, because this is going to go out on the podcast. So everybody, you can't steal that. Ellie's doing that.
Right.
Love it. I'll be there. I will sign up for my membership for sure.
Right. All right.
So Ellie, you are, as I say, on Instagram. You've got over 1,000 followers there already. And I was looking back through your posts, and it looked like you started your Instagram account on the 5th of September, something like that.
I know, it's gone so fast. Honestly, it's been absolutely bonkers. I'm not new to Instagram. I already have another Instagram account because I'm an artist, and so I'm quite comfortable on Instagram.
Yeah.
But oh my goodness, this one's grown so much faster than my actual art account. So yeah, thanks everyone who is following.
Yeah.
And it's finding it really fun. Not only fun, but also, great to share knowledge. Everyone's helping me learn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's so many people, even with the podcast and my own personal detecting account as well. So many people, so helpful, and take time out of their day to help you with content or identifying finds or whatever it is. It's so lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was looking, you're part of Team LP as well.
That's right. Yeah, that all happened very quickly as well. So I joined up. I really started that Instagram account because I was becoming aware that if I keep posting about my finds in my art account, because I see my search, my passion for the search, very much as part of my creative practice and as an artist. So I used found objects and found surfaces to inspire my painting work. But I started metal detecting, and I realised that I was quite regularly posting crusty old green coins, and I thought, I don't want to alienate people who are really here to see my painting work. So I thought what I'll do is I'll set up a second account.
Yeah.
And the Miss Detectorist name was really a bit of a joke. And I was going to change it, but it's too late now because that's what I was going to change it. But I only set that up because I thought it was a joke, because, when you go to digs, I don't know if you feel like this, but I go to digs and quite often I'm either the only woman there or one of maybe two or three. I know I stick out like a sore thumb as well. Like I get up my car and got the nails going on, nail varnish, and my hair. I sort of think I look different. I know I do. I know I don't fit in. I'm like a fish out of water. So I thought I'll make a joke about it. It's all you can do, isn't it? It's style it out. So I called myself Miss Detectorist, and I thought I'll change that. But now I'm stuck with it. So when I'm 95 and I'm calling it Detectorist, like Miss Havisham covered in cotton.
Oh, do you remember Miss Detectorist?
Yeah.
That's really interesting. And I've seen a couple of your posts, and I feel exactly the same. Now, why is it as women we feel like we stick up like a sore thumb? And I wonder what it's like on the other side, the other folks. Do they think that females or non-binary folks stick out like sore thumbs, or do they not even register? Is it something we do to ourselves?
I know I get look. So when I drive in and I drive past rows and rows of cars with men in in their boots, fiddling up, and to look, they clock you. And I do, I know they're looking at me. I know they are. So I get, and I sort of have to have a word with myself as I'm driving down, thinking, all right, take a deep breath. You're just going to have to get out and say good morning. So that's what I do. I just get out. I just say good morning. And then really, they're always lovely. Of course, they're always lovely. The other day, I went to a dig and I got out of my car and there was a little boy next to me and his dad, been about 10 or 11. And he didn't give two hoots. He came straight over and because there was a huge rainbow in the sky and I wanted to take a picture of it. And he came over and he said, "Oh, how are you going to get all that in the frame?" And, and he just broke the ice. And then his dad said hello. And,
breaking down those boundaries. Well, you inspired me. And I had a quick look because I feel like women were few and far between many years ago, sort of in the 70s when this hobby really took off. And then it has been growing. And then you inspired me because of one of your posts I was looking. Obviously, I do my Instagram stalking before I interview everybody. So I went on to the podcast figures because you can get some really good stats, especially from Spotify. Apple does it as well. They all do it. But I went into Spotify just to look at the stats. And I can report that currently on the podcast, 59% of the listeners are male, 34% are female, 6% not specified, and 1% non-binary. So I found that really interesting and higher than I thought.
Yeah. And I must admit, I think when I look at the social media side of things, there does seem to be a growing number of women getting involved and having a bit more of a voice. And that's how I got involved in LP because they spotted me as soon as I hit Instagram. I think they said they like the way that I tell stories about my experiences in the hobby. And they were looking they have 16 real detectorists on their team, telling kind of real stories. And 4 of those are women. So they're trying to represent the diversity in our hobby, and diversity makes it way more fun. I mean, come on, you make it more fun, right? So I'm pleased to be part of, being able to represent women because I want more women to join in and feel comfortable.
Absolutely. And we have different things that we have to deal with, including often speak to the female detectorists about, which is toilet facilities is one of the things, isn't it?
I've written that in my notes, actually.
Brilliant. We'll get to that in a minute. But I love that you mentioned the word diversity. And in my corporate job that I've left now, I was a champion of DE&I, so that's diversity, equity and inclusion. And the stats on that in terms of business and how well, even if you're, not on a humanitarian level, but on a business level, and what LP is obviously looking at now is that, it's good for business to have diversity, neurodiversity, diversity in gender, race, all of those things. It just makes everything more rounded, doesn't it?
It does. It's just more fun, I think. Everyone brings something different to the table. And what's lovely about listening to your podcast is hearing stories from people from all different walks of life. And, everyone's got their reasons for getting involved and everyone can bring something different to the table. So I'm thrilled to be part of it. You can't get rid of me anyway. I'm here now.
No, we don't want to. We're glad you're here. So, Ellie, you are in the Southwest, aren't you? But, you've had a bit of a journey getting to this point. So do you want to let the listeners know about your journey?
Yeah, well, I'm a West Country girl. I grew up in Roman and Georgian Bath, and I worked there for many years. And I worked in fashion, and I worked in a great job. Brilliant. On paper, fantastic. Got to do some travel to Paris and Milan every year and worked with amazing creative people, a really interesting job in product design. And I loved it, but there was something really nagging at me. And over the years, I began to feel like there was something missing. And I realized what it was I used to just stare out of the window. Obviously, I did do some work, but when I was at work, I was sort of at my desk and I'd look out the window and I just longed to be outside. And it was like really one of those really kind of fundamental things that was wrong with my day was that I felt kind of chained to this desk and I couldn't step outside. That good weather or bad, I just like to be able to step out when I want.
Yeah.
And I realized that was actually making me a little bit sick. And I needed to be outside. So I decided, I really soul searched about it for a long time because I did love the work. I loved my team and everything. But I sat down with a piece of paper and I wrote this question at the top, which was, how do you want to spend your days? I thought that it's better to ask that question rather than what do I want to earn? How do I want my career path to go? Because that doesn't really help. So I wrote, how do you want to spend your days? And it was very simple. I want to be able to go outside. I want to be able to go to places that make me happy. I want to have a laugh. I want to meet great people and have opportunities to learn new things.
Yeah.
And I want to be creative, because that's at my heart, is I'm a creative person. I like to make things with my hands. So I was already working alongside my job. I was already selling paintings, and I decided paintings of the sea, because I love being by the sea. It makes me feel good inside, to be close. And so I thought, right, well, I've got to make a change here. I've got if I don't change something, nothing's going to change. So me and my family moved to Devon.
Yeah.
And I decided I was going to go for it. I was going to follow a passion and work as an artist. So I've kind of engineered my own job as a coastal artist. I paint the sea, and I sell my work through galleries and through my Instagram. But I also teach. I teach at National Trust Properties and for the Wildlife Trust. And I work all the way through Devon into Cornwall and onto the Isles of Scilly.
Wow.
And so I'm traveling about. I just have a great time, and it's work. My experiment in happiness has worked because I feel good.
Wow.
This whole detecting thing is part of that experiment, because whenever an opportunity comes my way now, I ask myself, will this be fun? And if the answer is yes, then I say yes to it. That's really in principle now.
Wow, that's so inspirational, Ellie. I love that story, and just to see the big smile on your face as I'm talking to you now. Listeners, I can tell you this girl is smiling. It's obviously working. How long did it take you then, do you think, from the moment you sat down and, wrote on that piece of paper, what do you want to do with your days, to where you are now? How long did that journey take, do you think?
Well, I think I've been thinking about this for quite a long time. It was part of about 10 years ago, I stumbled across this movement called, this is a bit of a tangent, sorry.
It's all right, we like tangents here.
Movement called the Financial Independence Movement, sometimes known as FIRE, Financial Independence Retire Early. And it came over from the States, and I was really fascinated by it because it was championed by this guy in the States who had retired at 31 by basically, he'd worked out that working life is a bit of a con, that we end up sort of trying to afford things we can't really afford, and we work so hard and we're so tired, and we don't, this sort of classic rat race type vibes. But he worked out very simply that you know how a pension works when you retire.
Yeah.
You build up a pot of money, and once you get to it's invested properly. Once you get to a certain age, it kicks you out an income.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he worked out that if you could just accelerate that, bring it forward, then you can create an income you can basically buy your freedom from obligatory work. Doesn't mean that you don't want to work or that you won't work. It just means that you're not obliged to work for someone else doing something you don't want to do. And so about 10 years ago, I started on that path, and that's what's really enabled me to make this jump, because I have the backing of that knowledge about how I was going to support myself around my own income that I can generate for myself. So I suppose I've probably been thinking about it for about 10 years, but it took me, a really long time I'm going to big myself up here, but and anyone else that's done it's quite brave to step out of a really good career to do something potentially could be a complete disaster. It's not been a disaster. It was my fears were unfounded. It's been actually great. I've enjoyed I feel like I'm still on this big adventure. So because it's quite fun.
That's really, really interesting. Thank you for sharing that. So the listeners, I'm sure some folk will be inspired by that and going off and researching the FIRE movement. And it does feel scary. I've just left my job. And it was kind of like, right, what do I want to do now? Do I want to step, like you say, exactly, it just resonates with me. Do I want to go back into that world of high pressure, long hours, almost changing me as a person because of dealing with that stress and everything? Or do I want to go down this better, happier for me path. And so I'm currently, you said brave, but you're right. It is brave, because you do have to sort of sever that traditional thinking, don't you? That you must go to your traditional 9 till 5.
Yeah, and you've got to start. I think maybe it's just as I'm getting a bit older, I don't actually care so much what people think now. I know probably there were people that thought, what on earth are you doing? but I don't really care now.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of what I'm doing. And I think I've proved those people wrong, because now I hear from friends and family, oh, I love seeing what you're up to. You're off all over the place. You're lucky. How'd you get... I think I'm not lucky, actually. I've actually made that happen for myself, thanks.
Yeah, you've been brave. You worked your butt off, and now you're reaping the rewards. Well done, you.
Very much.
Excellent. So that's a really interesting story. And then how did you actually get into metal detecting? Where did that begin?
Wow, I was really thinking about this, and I was thinking that I think I'm a child of the 80s, so I remember all those films like The Goonies and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and having like a real fascination with this idea of treasure. My dad's an antique dealer, so I grew up around lots of old things in the house. Not things that were locked away in cabinets, definitely not. My dad, everything we used was antique. So our kitchen table, our chairs, our knives and forks, everything was antique. And they were objects to be used and not things to be sort of looked at and not touched. So I'm used to being around old things, and I'm interested in stories of people and places, and that's the bit that really hooks me in. Anyway, I remember hearing about metal detecting as a child and thinking, that sounds amazing. Like, imagine being able to find out what's underneath the surface. But it wasn't sort of a thing you could get involved in then.
No.
When I was pregnant with my second child, I had this brainwave that I would get a metal detector and use my maternity leave with my baby on my front and kind of, have a go.
Yeah.
Completely impractical. I didn't realise that you can't really do that. So I bought this metal detector in 2009, and I couldn't put my baby on my front. Of course you can't do that. So I went out when I had the opportunity, had the use of a field, and I knew it would be a good field. But all I found was iron, because at that time there was no YouTube. And so there was no support. So I found loads of iron. And in the end, I decided to sell it, because I think during my maternity leave, I thought I'd probably be better off just keeping the cash.
Yeah.
So I sold it, and I regretted it so much. And then this year, I had a bit of a hard winter. I broke my foot, slipped on a coastal path. And the end of the winter, you're a bit down anyway, aren't you?
Yes.
So nothing's doing. Down here in Devon, it gets quite quiet. Everyone retreats into their own village, and there's kind of no way of being with other people. So I thought, I've always wanted to do this. I'm going to treat myself. So on Valentine's Day, I bought myself a metal detector, and
I love that.
I decided I would use it as an opportunity to go to join a group, meet new people, and get my broken foot going again, and start doing something with gentle walking.
Yeah.
And so I treated myself, and that's really how I got back into it after that first failed attempt.
Oh my goodness! First of all, how's the foot? Is the foot okay now?
Oh, absolutely fine. I mean, when you do something like that, you think, "Oh, that's it now. I'm never. It's never going to mend."
Yeah. Wow.
I'm absolutely fine. It was amazingly quick. Actually, healed in only a couple of months. So I don't even notice that anymore.
Good. Well done.
It was good, because it gave me that impetus to say I've got to get out. I've got to start moving. And so I thought I'll start a new hobby, and I'll throw a bit of money at it, because
why not?
Sometimes you've got to treat yourself, haven't you?
And I love that you treated yourself on Valentine's Day.
That was a total coincidence, but it has turned out to be a bit of a whirlwind romance.
Yes, absolutely. This year, I tell you. So what brand of detector was that first one that you got then? And is that still your current machine?
Well, it was until about a week ago. I bought a Nocta Legend. I wanted to go for something that was sort of upper mid-level. So I wasn't just messing about. There's nothing worse in my mind than the idea of walking a field and trying really hard and not hearing what's there. So I thought, I'm going to take this seriously. I'm going to get something, upper mid-level. So I bought the Nocta Legend, and I felt supported because I was watching a guy called Digger Dan on YouTube.
Yes.
And he's
Yeah.
brilliant. I just really
He
liked
is.
his style, and he was using the Legend, and I felt supported because he is very generous with sharing his settings and stuff. And so, yeah, that's what I did. I bought the Legend. But I've just, in the last week, got a new machine, which is the XP Deus 2. And
Yes.
so, yeah, I'm having I'm starting again, getting to
Yeah, that was a leading question. Of course, I knew you had your new machine, and I saw your video.
I have been harping on about it on Instagram. But I think what actually really made me sort of go out and buy a detector was that I was studying at an art college I did a year at Newlyn School of Art in Cornwall last year, and my tutor, who is very, very well educated, very knowledgeable art historian and an amazing artist, he mentioned to me that he is also a detectorist, and I was quite surprised, like putting the two things together. And he said, "I'll bring my finds in to show you if you like." So I said, I always wanted to do that. He brought his little box of finds in a little Tupperware box. He opened the lid. Inside there was an ancient bar of gold, or a part bar being torn, but really beautiful. That lovely colour and just amazing. My eyes, of course, completely lit up. And a hammered coin, first one I'd ever seen, just blew me away. The detail, the age, the fact that it's handmade. And a little mount that's a Viking mount in the shape of a dragon's head. I mean,
oh my goodness.
Amazing finds. I was honestly, I just couldn't, I was completely stunned by these beautiful little objects. And he said, if you like, you can come with me to a dig, and you can borrow a piece of kit, and we'll just go out and have, you can come.
Amazing.
Well, I didn't wait. I just went straight home and just said, I've got to buy a detector.
Yeah.
And so Valentine's Day was a bit of a sort of coincidence, really, but it's quite funny looking at the invoice the other day and seeing that was the date.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, isn't it great? There's so many people have thought about the hobby, and for one reason or another it didn't work, and then there's that moment of inspiration where they fully jump into the hobby. So that's really nice, his sort of moment of generosity and then sharing those finds with you.
Yeah, I hope I can do that for someone else one day. I'd better get some good finds first in a Tupperware box.
Ellie, you're already doing it. You just don't realise.
No.
You really are already doing it on Instagram. You can imagine there's lots of people stalking your Instagram and going, I think I might buy a detector soon. I think I'm going to go for it. I think I am.
I hope so. I hope people do. Yeah. On buying my second one, I did actually take a bit more advice, and I asked people that I knew. I held a few and see which one I like the feel of. And I went on LP Metal Detecting. I've got this really cool little tool on their website called the Detector Selector. You can go on there. It's like a 1 minute quiz. It's so easy. It's just yes or no, yes or no, yes or no kind of answers. And it just funnels you into, because there's so many, isn't there? And it's a complete minefield. You're going to choose the make, the different models, the different features. Well, it basically funnels you into 2 or 3 suggestions at your price rate for the type of detecting you want to do, and taking into consideration some of the things that are important to you. So for me, lightweight was important because I want to be out for as long as possible. And it just helps you to decide, at least pushes you in a little direction to start your research. And I found that really helpful. And so I ended up going for one of the ones that they'd suggested.
That's really cool. I'd not heard about that tool before, so thank you for sharing on that. And you're right, if you don't know any other people with machines, you can only judge on what you see, and weight and balance and everything, depending on how tall you are and the reach of the detector.
It's quite personal.
Brilliant. So what are you enjoying about the Deus 2 then? What features do you like about it?
I mean, at the moment, we're still getting to know each other. But what I'm loving and instantly loved, as soon as I unpacked it, I come from a product design background. What a beautifully designed piece of kit. The way it slides into itself and goes down into this little, quite space age looking compact shape. Just stunning, the way it's been designed, I must say. It feels, in the hand, feels very good. It feels very well balanced, even though I think on the scales it probably weighs much the same as my old one, it actually feels much lighter. And because of the way it's been designed, I can take the whole thing can be extended a little bit longer, even though I haven't grown. And that means I get a much broader swing, which I think is adding about 50% to the ground that I'm covering. So straight away, I'm more efficient. So that's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then the other thing I like is that I'm a very visual person, being an artist, and I like to see as much information as I can. And there's a little tiny screen, and on it you can have an XY kind of graph, and it's kind of showing you this sort of wild pattern of what's happening under the ground and what targets look like in terms of their composition.
Yeah.
And I've been given some top tips about what to look for when something is worth digging, when it's not worth digging. And that's just brilliant. So I'm walking along, get a signal, pass, before I'd have had to dig that thing because I wouldn't be sure, because you can never tell with numbers, can you? 100%. No. So I started to rely on my ears with my old machine, which I think was good training. It's good to use your ears. And sometimes if you hear a tone and it's a really good tone, you've just got to dig it because you just don't know. But this gives me that second backup, like visually, does it look right? And I feel more confident that I'm not missing things. And that peace of mind is really what I think I'm paying for with that machine.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm an XP ORX user, so mine again folds up the same way. So I know what you mean. I always think it looks, when it's folded up, a bit like the Enterprise.
Yeah, it does. It looks kind of fun. There's something kind of space age about it. It's very cool.
Yeah, and it's so light, and for me, I really like the machines where you can charge them and you don't have to put batteries in them, for me personally. And again, that lessens the weight, right? And then headphones wise, I got for my XP and the headphones that come with that, I got a little puck. So I just put that in, and then I can use any normal headphones with the 3.5 jack. So that's good. So I can just put that separately in my pocket, and it's usually under my baseball cap, my headphones. So
you're using a wired headphone?
Yeah. So it can be wireless, but I didn't find the headphones that you use for it to be wireless comfortable. So the way to get around that is you can buy this little puck and plug it in, and then you can use normal headphones. So then I've got headphones like this that I use. Yeah,
because I think wireless definitely for me, because I chuck my machine, and that's another thing. I need a machine that's quite hard. As soon as I found a signal, like ready to dig, like that just gets guarded to one side. I'm trying to be more careful with getting into better habits with my DS2, because I don't want to break it by being too kind of dismissive of it. I like my headphones. I went for they come as a pack. They come with the back phone, which wraps around the back of your head. But I went for the one, I changed it up and went for the ones that go across the top.
Yes.
Just because of how I wear my hair, really. And I didn't want to get all, everything all tangled up.
Yeah.
So, I went for those. But they're really good.
Yes.
They're really good. You don't even they just, everything connects.
Which is amazing. Yeah, really. Convenience, isn't it? Convenience. And then, like you say, it's your backup to see the screen to make sure what you're thinking you're hearing and detecting is worth digging.
Yeah, I find that very reassuring, I must say.
And efficient as well, right? Because we've only got so many hours in the day and we've only got so much energy. So we don't want to be digging absolutely everything. Some days we do, but not every day we want to be digging everything.
I mean, I feel like I've done a kind of crash course in detecting. So although I've only been going since February, I think I've packed about 5 years worth of detecting into 1 year. So I now feel quite confident that I don't very often dig any iron unless it's mixed with something else.
Yeah.
And so I've sort of streamlined my digs to things that are hopefully the things that are worth digging.
Yeah, well done you. And the rest of your gear, do you take like a hand trowel or a hand digger with you, and what spade have you got?
Both my digging tools are Nocta. I've got the Nocta digging tool, which is like a little trowel with serrated edges, which I think is brilliant.
Yeah.
I've got a Nocta premium shovel. I bought it because it breaks down into two parts, because I thought I'd be doing a lot of beach detecting and I'd want to kind of carry everything in a backpack.
Yeah.
But I don't like beach detecting at all. So I've actually never broken it into two parts. However, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. I mean, I'm not the biggest person, so throwing your weight on a spade sometimes it just doesn't even dent the ground. But this thing's brilliant. It cuts straight through. I've got woodland permissions with ivy roots and stuff, and it cuts straight through. So yeah, brilliant. Love it.
Yeah, you need that, don't you? You need that for sure.
I've got a Garrett carrot pinpointer.
Oh, great.
Which I love.
Yeah.
And clothing wise, I just wear a right hodgepodge. I usually have some sort of I like a t-shirt, so I usually have some sort of t-shirt, and then I got these trousers, which someone said to me the other day, "Are you in the police force? Because your trousers are like police ladies' trousers." But they're actually from they're lady builders trousers from a place called Sight King.
Brilliant.
And I think probably the biggest investment in my outfit has been my boots. I bought the best ones, Scarpa, because they're so comfortable. They're like Everest's walking boots.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Waterproof. I'm so glad that was worth the spend. So, I mean, that was part of my original investment, which I gave myself to spend on the Legend and all the kit. I thought, I'm going to get boots. So, yeah, that's my kit.
Lovely, lovely. I was out at the weekend and I had my so-called waterproof boots on, and I was in a field that was just starting to overgrow with grass and things, and because of the good weather, I think it had all got a bit long again, and because of the early morning and the dew and everything, after about an hour I felt like I had trench foot and the water was getting in. Yeah. So the holiday season is upon us. I'm starting to write my wish list.
I've been starting to write my wish list as well. I've got a few ideas for I've got a couple of them. Actually, all my stuff is acting related as well.
Yes.
I'm going to ask for a printer's tray, you know.
What's a printer's tray? What do you mean?
Long ago, when people were printed using letter sets, traditional printing of books and stuff, the printers would have these drawers, big wide drawers, which had little grids.
Yes.
All the letters in.
Yes.
You can supply them, but they're obviously all old, vintage or antique. But they're brilliant. You can put them out on the wall and use them to store all your little things that you found.
Little bits and pieces.
I'm going to get some of that. And I've also, got on my list for Father Christmas a UV torch, because someone said today when I was going off to the Isles of Scilly to look for shipwreck stuff, they were like, "You've got to take a UV torch because you can spot diamonds and opals on the beach."
Oh my goodness.
And also certain types of sea glass that's got like uranium in it, I think. They glow.
I've seen that.
So yes. I was at the time when I got their message, I was in Penzance and I had about an hour till my flight, and I was going around every B&M Home Bargains Penzance. Have you got a UV torch? No, sorry. That's on my list for Christmas.
Yeah, hang on a minute. I just need to write that down. UV torch. I need one of those too. That sounds awesome. So thank you for sharing your detecting gear, some top tips there as well. We're going to move on to finds now. I've seen a couple of awesome things you've already found on your socials, but do you want to tell us about some of your best bits and pieces you found?
Yeah, go on then. I've only got a few, so it won't take long. Well, I think probably my first best find was my Henry VI half groat, which as hammered coins go, it's a bit of a stunner. It's come out of the ground in perfect condition. But even better than that, it was the circumstances in which I found it, because I was with my family and some friends. We were all camping on the permission where my first permission.
Brilliant.
And it was my first time getting my detector out. And I thought, I'll just get it out around where we were all have the fire going and everything.
Yeah.
Turned the machine on, went up and down a couple of times and got this signal and pulled that out of the ground in front of all the kids who just couldn't believe it.
Wow.
That our history sprinkled all over our nation like this. They were like, what?
Yeah.
This piece of treasure right there, where,
Yeah.
And it was like, I think they thought, oh, well, that's what detecting's all about. Then you just get your detector out and a hammer comes up. Of course, I've only found 2 in 8 months, so it isn't like that at all. But what a lovely coin. And it's really, I just am blown away by the detail on it, really. And just that it came out the ground like that after 600 years, just crazy, isn't it?
It's always amazing. And you always start thinking about who was the person that dropped it. How come they dropped
I know,
it?
I felt bad about it, actually. When I make a find, I always kind of say, I'm really sorry you dropped your coin, because I know how pissed off you must have been. And actually, I found out, I always try and find out the context of my finds, and I found out how much that was worth in those days. You know, what could you buy with it in those days? Well, basically, most people in the 1400s, because that coin's dated around 1420 to 30, worked in rural communities on the land. And a farm worker would earn about 3p a day, and a groat is worth 4p. So this half groat was just over half a day's work for someone.
Yeah,
it's quite annoying, isn't it? If you've worked really hard and you've got nothing to take home at the end of the day. So I always say sorry, but I always say, but I hope you'll be pleased that I'm going to look after it very, very well, and I'm very delighted to have it. So that was my first find that I was really, really pleased with. And then quite quickly afterwards, I found old gold.
beautiful.
And that was a real surprise. I actually driven all the way to Suffolk to a Roman dig, hoping to find something Roman. And I got there, and I swung that blimmin' detector for 8 hours in the dust and the heat. I didn't hear a single tone, and I thought, there's something wrong. I don't know if it was the ground. I don't know if it was my detector. I was, by the end of the day, I was so down. I'd driven about 300 miles to get to this dig on my own, stayed the night in a hotel, gone to the dig, done 8 hours, and I hadn't found anything, and I was so gutted. And I drove halfway back to Devon and stopped off in the Cotswolds, where I've got a field that I can use. And I went to bed feeling a bit disappointed. But then the next day I thought, right, I'm going to test my machine and just make sure there's nothing wrong here. So I switched it on, went over the lawn and heard this tone. And it was, when I dug it up, very, very shallow in the lawn. I've been walking over it for about 16 years. It looked like it was a ring. So I thought, there's no way that this will be real gold, because it's, you know, why? In my head, I thought it must be costume jewellery because it's right near the house. So I just didn't do a gold dance or anything. I went into the house and I put it in the washing up bowl, rinsed it off, and it was really, really shiny and looked really good. And it had a red stone in it, the absolute match of my nail varnish. So, and then I put it on and it fitted perfectly on my ring finger. So I was like, cool, I found a nice bit of jewellery. Had a look inside and there was no hallmark. So I was like, oh, never mind. You know, can't know what it is. And then I put it up on a shelf, and then I started thinking, actually, if it hasn't got a hallmark, maybe it's really old. I tentatively put it out on one of the Facebook groups and got, you know, immediately loads of likes and comments saying, you found old gold.
Yes.
That looks so good, you know, and you've got to report it. So then I had my first flow experience. I had to report to the Salisbury Museum, and she wanted to see it. So we met in a little town in Wiltshire, sat on the library steps because the library was shut. And I got it out and showed it to her, and my heart was pounding because I wasn't sure how old it was. It could have been anything. Some people said, oh, it might be Elizabethan. Some people said, it could be Roman. And I was like, oh, wow, imagine if I'd found something that old. But she held it and she was like, there's something not right about this ring. She said, it's just too light. It just doesn't feel like gold. And she said that quite often they get really good copies coming into the flow. And she said, you know, we've had great Krakatoys. And I thought, oh no, this is so embarrassing. I was like, imagine I brought her a fake, and I'd feel so embarrassed. But it stayed with her for quite a while. She looked at it under a microscope and realised that it was old gold. And then she had to refer it to the British Museum curator, who confirmed that it's actually not classified as treasure because it's not quite old enough. So they dated it at around 1800. Yeah. So I'm going to get it back, which is great. So I'm going to go and collect that. But really wasn't expecting to find old gold in my first 6 months of detecting. So yeah, I'd say those are probably my two most treasury finds. But my favourite find is my medieval candle holder, which dates back to the 14th century, and I just love it because it's, it's an everyday object, isn't it? That we really needed, because I don't know how it ended up wedged in a hill in Dartmoor, but I bet whoever had dropped it was quite annoyed when they got back to wherever they were going. Because, I mean, obviously, it's one of those items that life, was so tough in those times, wasn't it? And you really, really would need that. So it's beautifully made as well. And I think one of the reasons I like it so much is it's one of the things my dad really loves, is old metalware, and collects a lot of old candlesticks. So he was able to tell me everything about it.
Brilliant.
He was able to, where it had been made, and that it had been made in Belgium on the River Meuse. Apparently, a lot of our domestic candle holders were made there and brought over to.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and that it would have once had a circular sort of little dish underneath it. So at the moment it doesn't stand up because it needs a base. So I might have to get something made, I think, so I can use it. I did light it on Instagram live.
Yes.
Did you see that?
I did. I love that you used it for its purpose again. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was lovely. Even just so nice to think that morning it was in the dark, in a hill, in the earth. And then by the evening it was, lit up again. It was really quite special to do that. And I mean, even more special because I actually thought it was trash. I'm embarrassed. I showed it to a few people on the dig, and they were like, "Oh, that looks like that's probably part of a valve for some sort of bit of farm machinery." And someone else said, "Oh, you found a bit of an old Victorian bedstead."
Yeah.
So I chucked it on the floor in my car. Just sort of threw it down all muddy, and it was only when I got it home and washed it I thought, that is not a valve.
Yeah,
that is definitely
that's something else.
Definitely something, and sculptural, and it's got like lovely details on it and decoration. I just didn't notice. So check your trash, people.
Yes,
always.
That's a theme of some recent episodes. Let's keep that going. Check your trash, everybody. Okay. We love that. Oh, that's brilliant. Your finds are kind of like detecting in front of your family and friends. I can imagine me detecting in front of my family and friends, and the jokes would be, "Oh, she's ring pull hunting," and all this kind of stuff. In my world, that's what it might be. And the fact that you managed to pull up this amazing hammered coin in front of everybody.
It was so brilliant. Good. But I mean, it's rather set me up now, because every time now with an old crusty old button, and I'm like excited about it.
Yeah, the expectations.
I recently found a tiny little shipwreck bead, which was a big hunt for me on the Isles of Scilly to try and find one. They're very, very difficult to find, but I did find one.
Oh, well done.
So I sent an excited picture home to my family, and my teenage son was like, "Send a pic, send a pic." So I sent a picture, and he was like, "I'm not going to lie, Mum, I'm a bit disappointed. That looks really, really small and not what I was thinking at all." But I was like, don't worry about the size, Ivo. It's more about the fact that it took me this long to find it. That's what you've got to get.
Yeah, just be happy for you. And then the ring as well. The fact you immediately talked yourself into, no, it's costume jewelry. It can't be anything good. And Ellie, did the gold dance ever happen, or are we going to see a gold dance when you get the ring back on Instagram?
Do you know what? I was thinking about that. I think I will do a gold dance.
Yes.
I will. Yeah.
I think it's
I'm
an
old rager. So it's going to be sort of like bleepy music going on, and I'll do a gold dance.
Yes, yeah. Excellent, excellent. Me too. I shall wait for that then. We'll look forward to it. We need to make a big announcement the day that one comes out.
Oh, but no, let's see how it works out first before we make it.
Get you some glow sticks at the same time with your gold stuff. Right. That'd be great. Okay, lovely. Well, thank you for sharing your best finds. And then we always go on to ask, have you found anything weird or slightly odd in your time so far?
Well, I have found a couple of things. The one I'm going to talk about today is metal, so it counts, but it's so big it wouldn't fit under a metal detector, so I can't truly say it was more of an eyes only find. I spotted this huge thing floating out to sea, bright orange, about 200 or 300 meters off the coast, and I squinted and tried and work out what it was. I didn't have any binocs with me. I wondered, in fact, if it might be one of those life rafts. So I did look for quite a long time just to check there was no one in trouble, but it didn't seem to be. It was too big to be a boy, too small for a life raft, so I sort of walked away from it. couple of weeks later, I found it washed up on the beach, and it was this huge, I mean, way bigger than me, probably about 8 feet across, looked like a big metal buoy with spiky bits coming out of it, bright orange.
Oh.
And I thought, I'm a beachcomber, so I was like, cool, this is like the biggest bit of shrapnel I've ever found. Went over to it, put my arms out big and wide, and got a picture taken with it for sort of, for the Insta.
Yeah.
Didn't even cross my mind, this looks like ordnance. Because of course down here, a lot of ordnance washes up on the beach.
Yeah.
And I posted it with this goofy picture of me, and someone came onto my Instagram and said, that looks like a submarine mine. I wouldn't go so close for you. I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh no. So quickly I reported it. Someone else popped on and said, oh, my dad heads up the Coast Watch in your area. I'll let him know that you found it. And apparently they'd been watching it for a while. It's actually a dummy naval green mine, thank God. Otherwise, I don't think they paint the real ones bright orange.
Yeah, I was thinking that actually. Like, look over here, watch out.
I mean, it's used by the Royal Navy to do gunning practice out at sea, and it had made land where I live. And so they said, well, thanks for letting us know it's made land. We've been watching it for a few weeks, and it's perfectly safe. It's perfectly safe. And so, that was a bit of a lesson in don't approach ordnance on the beach. I learned my lesson now.
And that's a one-off. I don't think we're ever going to have anyone else coming on the podcast saying they found that.
I can't think of anything that I found detecting apart from a phallus mount, which I mean, that's just funny, really, isn't it? And I was very pleased to find it. But I haven't really found anything else weird yet. I don't think
yet. I think those two things actually count really well towards your weird list. Brilliant. Okay, excellent. So now we're going to move on to your history favorite bits and pieces. So do you as yet have a favorite monarch or emperor that you would like to seek out?
I really thought hard about this question. You're asking someone who showed probably very little interest in history at school. Now I'm super fascinated by it, but I didn't listen properly at school. And even if I was interested, I don't seem to have the kind of brain that can retain facts and dates and names. And even my dad, super knowledgeable, telling me interesting things. The minute I hear him talk about history, I think, oh, that's really interesting. I hope I can remember it. Then it's just gone straight away. So, in terms of monarchs, I'm going to have to say whichever monarch featured on something I found, because I use it as a research tool. So just as an example, the Henry VI half groat that I found has a picture of the king on it. And he was 9 months old when he came to the throne. And this coin was made in his first 10 years of his reign. So it was made when he was a child. And now I look at the picture of him on there. It's a little boy's face. It's not a man. And that's quite interesting. Also reading up about him, he was pretty unpopular guy by all accounts, not the most successful monarch, and life in those times was quite tough, I think. So I mean, that's the monarch I know about, because that's the one I've got on a coin right in front of me now. Next time I find a coin, I'll probably learn about another monarch. But for now, I'm very limited in my knowledge. My knowledge is limited to horrible histories and Blackadder.
Yeah, that always teaches us, and it's a good way of remembering stuff, isn't it, that way, when you're remembering all the skits.
Exactly.
We've got very similar backgrounds. I've said before, at school, when we did history and geography, history was always dead boring to me because it was always just repetitive in terms of World War II. And then I took geography later on when I had my options. So I'm also a beginner, and partly why I started the podcast, and exactly the same as you. I tend to learn more as I find stuff and research it.
Yeah, I think this is so much more interesting, like learning about history through objects. It's really interesting. And it's also about learning about yourself in some ways, because this is a bit deep, but I've been thinking about this quite a lot. But basically, it kind of places you in time. You know, we're here now. What will we leave behind that will be still here when we're gone? And it sort of connects you to this line of people long before us. I mean, actually, 300, 400, 500 years ago, all these things that we're finding, buckles and stuff, it's not that far back. These are people just like us living, in this place where I am now, where I'm searching. And these are everyday things. It sort of connects us to the fact that we're not here forever, It's quite interesting. And I like that, finding little everyday things almost more than the treasures.
Yes.
That sort of reminds us that these are just people like us,
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Absolutely. And plus, looking at history as a whole, it can be quite overwhelming, can't it? And especially myself, like you, we've got similarities in that I'm struggling to retain information sometimes, specific different types of information. I don't know whether it's something to do with my age, perimenopausal. Yes, I've said that word on the podcast. It's hard to remember stuff. I can't remember my own name sometimes.
I think everyone learns in different ways, don't they? And I'm visual, but I also like a story. I think once you can start to connect a thing to real people and a human connection, then you start to remember it. Then it makes it much easier to remember.
Yes.
So yeah, that's how I'm learning. I'm just learning day by day. Each little object takes you off on a crazy research mission. The most random. I mean, you don't know what you're going to find, do you? And it just takes you off on these random directions. I like that. It makes it fresh, and you're not stuck in one era for a long time like you are at school learning about one thing. You go off in all these different directions. But what connects all of the things is these are just human beings like us, living life, trying to do the best they can for their families, exactly the same as we all are. And that's what I like about it, this hobby, really.
Lovely. Well said. Well said. So I guess that's probably the same for your favourite history era as well then. You sort of learning as you go.
Well, that I do feel a little bit more I can talk about, because there is an era that I find really fascinating, and that is the medieval era, because I think because I come from a product design background, I'm really appreciating these objects. It's a time of no shortcuts, like all the mod cons that we are used to now, everything that's come in since the industrial age, everything. I mean, everything you tried to do in that time must have been hard. Like no artificial light. So the minute the light starts to fail, you can't actually see. You've got to get a candle out. Everything. Lighting a fire must have been difficult. Finding food, you've got to grow it. You've got to rely on the seasons. Yeah. The whole, you're living utterly hand to mouth, and that makes, to me, every object that I find from that time very, very meaningful, because there was no such thing as mass production like there is today in product design and manufacturing. Every item that I find has been manufactured by hand as a one-off thing, and skill involved. I mean, I worked with precision tooling and engineering of metal products, and even today with digital access to digital and all the sort of design aids that we have, it's really very tough to get precision design details into metal.
It is.
But these people are working by hand, creating dies to make these coins. I mean, that is just crazy, isn't it? To think that they had the ways of doing that, and those objects have survived this long. I mean, not many things that we're making today will survive in the ground. So I find the medieval period quite interesting. It's a bit dark as well, isn't it? There were no rules, there was no police force, there was no health service, there was no education. I mean, it's just dark, isn't it, when you think about it? You're born into your lot, really, weren't you, then? And you just had to just like it or lump it, and you just have to deal with it. And I have a sort of respect for the people that lived in that time. The other day, I went to a dig on Dartmoor, and the ground was so stony, like I couldn't even get my spade in. It was just, and I just thought, imagine being a medieval farm worker up here in the weather, or you can't just go in if it starts raining like I did. I went in and got feet. You've got to stay out there, and you've got to dig that land with handmade tools. Yeah. And if you didn't, you wouldn't have any food next season. And it's just that kind of thing. I respect the people that lived at that time hugely. And life expectancy 35 back then.
Literally the survival of the fittest, and the fact that we're here today having this conversation. I mean, the chances are minuscule, but yet we're here, and that's because of those ancestors. Oh, wonderful. Have you ever had any issues while out detecting? I mean, obviously you're out in Dartmoor and places like that, so the weather can change quickly and get quite wild. Have you had any issues?
Yeah. Well, I'm quite used to that because I work outside a lot as an artist, so I'm quite hardy when it comes to weather and stuff. But I think you mentioned it earlier, the wee problem.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I know this. Sorry, boys, but it's got to be said. It is really difficult. I think you have to carry a tissue and be prepared to hop over a wall, basically, don't you? Because often you turn up at a dig and there isn't a loo at all. And it's all right if you're a bloke, isn't it? I mean, you can go and find a hedge and just turn your back. But for us, that requires the full, undressing of the lower half, which is quite explosive, isn't it? But yeah, you kind of need a wingman or lady to stand guard and say, you're all right, there's no one coming. But if you're on your own, that can be it's quite challenging. But I haven't really had any major issues whilst out detecting. No, not really. Not yet, anyway. Apart from, I did spook myself out big time detecting. Here by the sea, you get this rolling mist that comes in either off the moor or off the sea when the weather's a certain kind of way, warm and a bit wet. And I went detecting up at one of my permissions on a farm, and I found myself shrouded in this thick mist. And I was fine, I was on my own going up and down through this mist. And then this weird noise started up, like a kind of eerie bellow.
Banshee.
And it kept going. I couldn't, and it was carrying through the mist in this very bizarre way. I'd never heard anything like it before. It really started to freak me out. And then I made the mistake of thinking about American Werewolf in London. Have you seen it?
Yes.
Have you seen that? I mean, so he's on the moor and in the mist, and here's this sound, this wolf, and getting closer and closer, and of course it all ends in disaster. So I started thinking of that, and then I suddenly thought, God, I'm on my own up here, no one knows where I am. We've got this mysterious story up here of this big black cats that live up on the moor.
Oh, of course, yes.
I suddenly thought, imagine if I was got by the beast of the moor, and no one knew where I was. I hurriedly packed my stuff up and started fast walking back to the car. I think what it was, it was a cow making a strange sound and carrying in the mist, but it really did freak me out. At that moment, I wished I had my buddy with me, but totally on my own.
Right, we're going to move on to then our bucket lister section, Ellie. So this part where I ask you, what are a couple of items you've got on your own personal bucket list that you haven't yet found and you're really keen and excited to find in the future?
Oh, there's so many. I've got everything yet to find, Katie, but I would have said, until the other day when I found my first bit of Roman, I would have said, I'd like to find something Roman, please. But I've now found a little something Roman. It's not a treasure, but it's a Roman locking pin, which is would have been used as a kind of fixing or fitting on a piece of furniture. So I found a piece of Roman, but I'd love to find a Roman coin. But I think I'm going to choose for this a Celtic penannular ring or a gold stater, one of those two. I love the design mark of it, the beautiful kind of slightly wonky or incomplete circle. I'm really drawn to that shape, and the primitive markings on the stater, the moon and the stars and the animals. I love those. I think as a piece of design, those are just absolutely stunning.
Yeah, they are beautiful.
And the penannular ring is so mysterious what it was even used for. It's too small to go on your finger. It's maybe used as an earring or a hair decoration, or no one really knows what they were for. But that idea of the incomplete circle, there's just something very pleasing to the eye about that design. So if I ever found something like that, I would just probably hang up my detecting boots and just say, I can't beat that now. So that would be my personal bucket list, definitely.
Oh, I love that, and that really hits the mark in terms of your love of design as well, doesn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and gold. Why are we drawn to gold? It's just something in
It's just
No,
so
it's so
beautiful
beautiful.
and
It's
precious
shiny.
and rare.
Yeah. What it is, our brains, but it must connect back long, long ago. Gold. Why does it sort of thrill us so much to see it, hold it? Sort of almost it's light, doesn't it? When you hold it, it's
Yeah,
very special.
absolutely. Okay, I love those additions to your own personal bucket list. Good to hear about those. I hadn't even considered those items actually. But now's the important question, Ellie. Drum roll, please. We want to know what item you want to place on the ultimate bucket lister list for our listeners. Now, this can be something out there and wacky, which we've had a lot of recently, or it can be something that someone probably will find at some point in their detecting career, shall we say. Something that, is a rite of passage. You're going to find one of these eventually.
I think it's unlikely that we'll find this, but I'm going to put this in for quite a personal reason.
Oh, I love it.
When I was little, my dad used to say to me, when I went out off on my little missions, beachcombing or searching, he would always say, come back with a Saxon cross.
Oh.
And I knew that must be something special. I knew it must be something very old, because the word Saxon to me said, very historical. A cross. I in my mind, I imagined it as quite a large kind of thing that you might see in a church or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
I've only just recently looked up what a Saxon cross looks like, and it's the most beautiful little object, quite small. Some of them are decorated with stones, garnets and things like that. Very sort of wonky shaped cross. And I can see why he said it now. I mean, what a special thing to find anything Saxon and gold, but a cross. I think if I could, that would be on my ultimate bucket list for my dad, really, because imagine if, he would just be so blown away. So yeah, I'd like to use that for my dad.
Lovely. Awesome. We shall whack that on there. I think we do have a Saxon cross, a gold and ruby stone cross on there already, placed on there by Digger Dawn, but we can put your one on there as well.
I'll have to put a plain one then that doesn't have any rubies in it. And then we've got covered off all the options, all the design options of the Saxon cross for every option.
You know what? That's spot on. Yeah, let's do that. And then we've got the two. And then we'll find a nice design. We'll discuss offline, and then I'll put that on as part of, because I post that on the bucket list. I list the picture, so we'll make sure we find one that you're happy with. That's perfect, excellent, and it is obtainable. People have found these things, so I love that it's on the list.
It's still been out there, Katie. This landscape is scattered with treasure.
It is everywhere, and hopefully, especially in Hampshire where I am in one of my fields, I will find it.
Either one of those two places would be good.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be happy. One of us will find it. Okay, so want to go on just to ask you any other hobbies you might recommend? I mean, detecting obviously gives a lot to you, but anything else?
Yeah, I thought about this. Not many people talk about fitness in our hobby, and I have heard a few little comments in some of the Facebook groups from people saying, does anyone else feel like they've run a marathon after going out on a day dig? And I must say, I do wonder sometimes, looking around, how do some of the people who go there might only go digging maybe every other month, and that's quite tough, isn't it? Quite tough on your.
Yes.
So I'm going to suggest as a hobby that it is a wise idea to do some either yoga or strength training, because I think if you're keen on the hobby, we want to be able to carry on doing it, as long as possible, and to be resilient to injury, because the problem is if we're not fit, then our bodies get injured, and that puts you out of action for months, as I realised with my broken foot.
Yeah.
I would recommend walking and yoga to build up your stamina for detecting. And one way to sort of build that into your day is to stack a tiny little habit on top of another habit. So, for example, if you're boiling the kettle and you've got about 2 minutes, just do 2 minutes of some little stretch or exercise to help your back and your shoulders and your knees, maybe squat or do some gentle twists or, whatever it is that you need to do to to build your resilience. And if you stack that onto something you already do, like boiling the kettle several times a day, that would make a real difference. So that would be what I would suggest.
You've just blown my mind, Ellie. Now I'm thinking of all the little things I can stack onto all of the things I do. This is amazing.
Well, that's an idea I've stolen from an amazing book called Atomic Habits, which is all about how to make good habits stick. And it's written by a guy called James Clear. And very, very smart book about how to bring into your day things that are really important to you, like health and fitness, or actually I learned about it through that financial independence movement. So there's a good book for people to read if you're interested in that.
Can you see my camera? Have I appeared on your screen?
Oh, you haven't got it.
I bought this book like literally a week ago, or just over a week ago, because we went to Ibiza for a few days, and I bought 2 books. And I actually read the other book, and I didn't read this book, but now I'm going to be.
It's money if you're interested in that. He's an amazing speaker, and he's done a number of podcast interviews where he talks about his methods, and I highly recommend it. Really interesting guy.
Thank you, Ellie. So that's James Clear and Atomic Habits, or search James Clear on other podcasts. I don't want to send you away from this podcast, but obviously other podcasts to listen to what he's got to say. That is a brilliant tip. Thank you, Ellie. Absolutely love that. So we're closing out the episode now, Ellie. It's been so interesting to get to know you. We have one listener question. This is from Paul, and Paul would like to know, what is your most favourite movie of all time?
I love stories of survival and endurance, particularly ones that are based on true stories. So, they completely horrify me, but I still love them. I'm completely fascinated. So things like Touching the Void, about a climber who had a horrible fall and had to, or 127 Hours, that guy that got stuck in
and had to lop off his arm.
So I love those kind of stories of shipwreck, stories of people who've been cast away, stories of people who've been. Those are the kind of things I go for. If there's something like that on Netflix, I'm like right
Courage
there.
And
I love
endurance. Yes.
Yeah, survival, human resourcefulness, and I love all that stuff, and that sort of optimistic spirit that actually really underpins this hobby. I think optimism, quality that I've noticed in Detectorists, which I really rate that as a human quality.
You are spot on.
And I love it.
You're spot on, not only because of the hobby, but also reasons people are in the hobby and there for their mental health because of something they've been through and endured, PTSD. And you're right. I love that answer.
It's the hopefulness, that even though things might look daft, you can still be that person to find that thing, or you can still survive that situation. I love that spirit, love it.
So next question for you is, who would you like to hear on the podcast? Is there anyone specifically that you'd like to hear more about?
Yeah, well, I'm going to say Digger Dan, because I think he's just so brilliant at what he does. And he's a really nice guy as well. People that just are nice.
Yeah.
And I'd love to
genuine.
More about him. Who else? I'm going to have to big up my buddy here, Carl. His Instagram is Chasing Status, and he's just started a YouTube channel, and he's a really nice guy and really knowledgeable as well. There's so many people I should say here that are going to be annoyed that I haven't said their name. So I'll just, Katie, I trust you. I know who. It's going to be brilliant. And I love hearing all the different stories. Everyone's got something to bring. So
great recommendations, Digger Dan and Chasing Status. I'm coming for you. And actually, Carl, Chasing Status, he's been liking some of my posts and things. So he's on my radar anyway. So has permission. I'm coming for you, Carl. Watch your DMs. Oh, fantastic. And what have you got coming up? Obviously, you've just done this amazing trip and you've been out and doing some exploring. What else have you got coming up on your radar?
Yeah. Oh, well, I've got loads coming up, which is why I just set up a little baby YouTube channel, because I thought, why not? I've got to share all these adventures. Because of my work, I get to go to some quite cool places. But also through my Instagram, opportunities are landing in my lap. So I've been contacted by someone that owns a medieval farm in North Wales, who's asked me to come and work with them. They've just got their first detector. They want to learn a bit more about the hobby and spend a couple of days together, just getting, in a relaxed way. So that's really a lovely offer. He's offered me accommodation as well in his luxury glamping shepherd's hut. And so I'm like, yeah, I'll be there. So that I'm also going to do a Ridge and Furrow medieval land in Wiltshire. So I've got lots of like new permissions that are coming to me now, which is really, really fun. And then as part of the LP team, I'm going to be going to Detectival, which will be my first big kind of detecting festival. And I'm going to get to meet all the rest of the team, some really nice people, new friends, and just have that's what it's all about, isn't it? So I've got things coming up. I think that's all I can think of off the top of my head. But it's just, every day detecting. That's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to, as much as possible, go out at least once or twice. Every few days I try and go out. My permissions are very close to my home, so I can sort of just up for a lunch break here or go quickly before supper.
Whenever you've got time.
So
brilliant. That's really exciting. Lots of fun stuff coming up, and I can't thank you enough for coming on and letting us all get to know you with your short Instagram career, but such successful Instagram career so far. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you, Ellie. Ellie, which is Miss_Detectorist. Go and check her out on Instagram.
Thank you.
All right, you take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. So that was the wonderful Ellie, Miss Detectorist. So on Instagram, it's Miss_Detectorist, and on YouTube, it's Miss Detectorist. She's got some great videos up on there already. She's got a lovely style with her videos as well. You're going to enjoy them. I hope you enjoyed that episode. I really